Okay, so I want to do a quick update on our Charlotte Mason week 2. We've decided to go all in with Charlotte Mason for 12 weeks and see what sticks. If you haven't been following along, basically we've really liked Charlotte Mason's style before, but our priorities are family style learning. We really like unit studies, but I have been reading Charlotte Mason's Home Education Volume 1, and I want to go more Charlotte Mason and into that method. So we're trying to do a term where, like 3 months, where we're just going to try very not regimented, that's not the right word, but we're going to try to go very Charlotte Mason. So I've listened to the audiobook through free on LibriVox, and I got my paper copy this week, and I really like this version. It's got lots of room for notes, and it's got some footnotes too, so that while Charlotte Mason is kind of addressing her readers in what probably was common speech in her day or common literature and that kind of thing, there are footnotes to let you know what on earth she's talking about. So that's really handy. I really highly recommend Volume 1. This is a really great place to start. From what I read, if you're dealing with kids like in Form 2, which is like the typical like age 9 plus, then, or like, I don't know what it'd be, like 9 to 12 or something like that, then probably Volume 6 is what I'm going to read next. But Volume 1 still gives that like foundational philosophy where she's coming from, but the practical applications and stuff that she goes through in this book are more like the Form 1, which from my understanding is like age 6 to 9-ish. But the cool thing about Charlotte Mason is that it's very like developmentally approached rather than like age regimented, if you know what I mean. So anyway, highly recommend Volume 1. Volume 6 is going to be my next read. We shall go from there. Anyway, so what I want to talk to you guys about today is last time I just gave you guys a quick recap last Friday of how our week went. I kind of went through Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, showed you all the different books that we're doing, how our days look a little bit different, or the things that we're doing in our day might be a little bit different. So I want to show you the tweaks I've made to the schedule. We're also going to add in Plutarch, so I want to show you that too. And yeah, just show you a little bit about how that's going to change. I'm going to put this up on the screen while I talk about it too, so that you guys can like understand where I'm coming from and that. So, okay. So let's compare and contrast and see what we've changed from the last time. So I'm going to go over our new schedule. This is just something where I'm not a schedule person. I don't like schedules. However, I'm trying it so that we're fitting in the different aspects of the philosophy, that I'm remembering things. It's actually, for some reason, creating a lot of time in our day. So yeah, I'm actually really liking having a schedule right now. That may be short-lived, I'm not sure, but I've always hated schedules. So this is very different for us. Okay, so some things that are the same. My work block personally for my work that I do is from 5:30 to 7. So that's my work block. That's going to stay the same. 7 a.m. is going to stay the same. That's the kids' time to go outside and do chores. We have pets that need food and water, so they're doing that. 7:30 a.m. That's going to stay the same too. It is Bible, breakfast and Bible. So the kids make breakfast and we do Bible together. Every day is different. Monday we do the ology, which is kind of like a children's catechism that's short, and we do our memory work based off of verses that they have for the ology. And then on Tuesday, we have like a swing day where I can put in whatever I want to do for Bible curriculum that day. Wednesdays, we do our Old Testament reading. Thursdays, we do New Testament. Friday, we do Psalms. At the same time, we're also like learning like, you know, the Pentateuch is the books of history, and we're in the New Testament days, we're learning like these are the Gospels, so we're learning books of the Bible, you know, explaining what the books of poetry are in the Bible when we do Psalms on Fridays, that kind of thing. So that's 7:30. That's staying the same thing at 8 a.m. It's going to be song and memorization. So last week we learned a hymn that was new to the kids. This week we're learning a chorus that's new to the kids. And then on Friday, we're doing like a recite and review. So we're singing together the song that we learned for the week, and we're reviewing the Bible verse. I will also be using that chunk of time to review our Bible verses as they get memorized and go back into a rotation and stuff like that. I'm going to be creating a system for that as we accumulate more and more verses. Next, we have at 8:30 a.m., we're doing our 10-minute math block. Now, this is something that I do 10 minutes of math across the board. My little girl, she's 5. She doesn't have to do her math, but she does have a numbers book. So if she wants to join us, she can. She's welcome. And then my middle son, he's actually ahead in his book. He's actually doing his next year's math book. So I'm not at all worried about how we accomplish lessons, but what he needs strengthening on is concentration and attention. And so it's been fantastic to have this 10-minute block because it's teaching him that I require or want him to have 10 good minutes. I feel like I would really strongly encourage you, if you're struggling with kids who are staring at the wall during their math lesson or whatever, just struggling with that concentration to make it through, consider shortening the lessons and maybe even only doing it once a day for a time, because I feel like that highly motivated my middle son, who is 8.5, to really give a good 10 minutes because he knew it was only 10 minutes long and it was all the math he was going to do for the entire day. Now, if you are working through a curriculum and you have goals to like finish it by the end of the year or whatever, maybe you want to have more than one 10-minute block per day, or maybe you want to start with one 10-minute block per day and then work your way to increase it to 2 or 3, whatever you need to get the math lesson done. So we'll see what happens there. But for 8:30 a.m., that is when our 10-minute math block happens for all my kids. And then at 8:40, we go into our history and science rotation. That's what we were doing last time here. I'm changing this up a little bit. For my older son, by the way, he is also just doing a 10-minute math block. But when we do math again in the schedule, that's kind of like his finish your math work time. He does not struggle with the concentration aspect as much. So I'm comfortable letting him work for more than 10 minutes if he needs to finish his lesson for the day. So previously in our schedule, we were doing math and then we were doing our history/science block. Now I'm going to, oh no, actually we're still doing that. I thought it was different. Okay, so we're doing our math and then we're doing our history block. And on Mondays we do Age of Pirates, which is a unit study that we're doing. Storybook of Science on Tuesdays, Age of Enlightenment on Wednesdays, and Pirates Illustrated on Thursdays. And then we have a video course that the kids get to do on Fridays. I try to keep Fridays like a little lighter and a little more fun. So I try to like weed out, if there's things we can just leave for Fridays so that they can get done school early and stuff, I'm trying to have that happen. And a video course is just more fun than I think. Maybe that's just me. We look forward to that. I will say the video course that we are doing is not specifically made for children, so I am censoring it as we go. That's kind of how we do things. Even the Pirates Illustrated, that's a book that's not written for children. And even just this week, there was a portion that I had to totally skip because as I was reading, it's giving a very real information about pirates, and there was a section on how they treated women. And so I knew right away from the title, I was like, oh, I'm gonna have to censor this. So that's how I do things. I don't pre-read every single thing before we do it. I just kind of go on the fly, and if it's like, oh, actually we're gonna skip this or I'm gonna reword this, that's just how I roll. So just so you know that Pirates Illustrated book, not written for children, but we're still using it, still liking it, and we still think that it has a lot of good information in it. But that's like parental discretion. Okay, so Friday we do the video course. Then at 9 a.m. we have our second math block. Now, right now I'm not asking my middle son to do another math block, but my older son will take this time and he will do his. The younger kids usually have a little bit of a break during this time. So then at 9:30, what I had before was our LA block, okay? So I did have Monday spelling, Tuesday grammar, Wednesday spelling, Thursday grammar, and then free writing on Fridays. Now I've kept the free writing Fridays because I really like free write Fridays. I think that's a brave writer term, but it's when you like basically give your kids an allotted time to write about whatever they want without the stress of spell checks or grammar checks. So it is to get that part of their brain that's just creative and wants to tell a story to work. So that's where they get kind of free reign, and I don't check their paperwork for stuff, but they're gonna write something, they're gonna share it with the family, and it's gonna be really fun. The whole purpose of that is fun. So we're gonna keep that on Fridays, but now at 9:30, I had poetry in like Wednesday last time, and I just thought that's odd because I do want them to learn poetry and memorize it. So I thought we really should have it at the beginning of our week. If we're gonna learn a poem, let's have it on Monday. So I've switched. We're doing Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. I always say Wadesworth, but I've heard other people say Wadsworth, so I don't know what's correct. But anyway, we're reading a poem of his on Mondays now at 9:30. And then on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, at 9:30, we're gonna take 10 minutes to work on memory. And I don't expect to learn a whole poem of his because the ones we've chosen are kind of longer. We may work on it for several weeks. If we ever have a short poem, then we could maybe memorize it in a week, I'm not sure. But for that whole 9:30 to 10 a.m. on Mondays will be Henry Longfellow. And then on Tuesday, we're gonna take 10 minutes for memorization and then 20 minutes to read Robinson Crusoe, which is our literature book. And then we're doing on Wednesday, 10-minute for memorization, then we're doing home geography, which is a book that Ambleside recommended. And then on Thursday, we're doing 10 minutes of poetry, and then we're reading Pirate's Passage, which is another just fictional novel that we're reading for fun. Fridays at this time, we are into free time already. So I'm trying to leave Friday afternoons really clear and even like the later morning. So that's really good. Then we're going to be going on to 10 a.m. What did I have for 10 a.m. last time? So 10 a.m. I had, so I had spelling, grammar, and then I had like home geography, Robinson Crusoe and stuff. So where are we gonna fit our grammar and stuff in? So at 10 a.m. I have reading, grammar, and tidy. I'm thinking of this in 10-minute blocks. So from 10 to 10:30, 10 minutes of reading practice, 10 minutes of grammar, and 10 minutes tidy. Reading practice for my 8-year-old might look like actually working on his reading skills because that's where he's at. Whereas for my older son, it might be more like recitation time where he can practice reading aloud for something, or I might even give him some private reading time. So that is Monday. Tuesday at 10 a.m., we're gonna be doing spelling from our literature that week and tidy. Wednesday, we're going back to reading, grammar, tidy. And then on Thursday, we're doing spelling from literature and tidy. So I'm keeping that like grammar and spelling rotation kind of back and forth, but I wanted like a 10-minute cleanup time before we have a big free time outside. So I wanted to fit that in there. And I also just wanted to make more intentional notes about how we're gonna do, you know, making sure we're fitting reading and stuff, and where are we getting our spelling from. We are doing spelling with our Bible memory work and stuff, which is great, but I think I wanna do more of that with the literature that we're reading. So on Tuesdays, we're reading Robinson Crusoe. So let's do some spelling. Let's choose a copywork passage from there, and then we're gonna work on spelling from there. And then on Thursdays, we're doing that Pirate's Passage novel that we're reading. So again, we're gonna choose a piece for copywork in there, and then we're gonna go ahead and do some spelling with it. Something else for grammar. I think I shared before that we were doing Fix-It grammar. I haven't hated Fix-It grammar, but I also haven't loved it. And so for $2, I picked up Charlotte Mason's First Grammar Lessons. You can get it for free. I found it for free online, but not in PDF form, and I wanted to print it out. So for $2, I went to, let me just find the website in case it interests you, cmsimplestudies.com had this beautiful cover and Charlotte Mason's grammar book that she wrote. I believe this is for Form 2. She wrote this, and I bought the PDF for $2 and I printed it and I bound it. So I'm only doing this with my oldest, but I might bring my middle guy in too. I'm not too worried about, like, I don't mind exposing my younger kids to grammar too, but I don't really care about pushing it either. So we'll see how we go. But especially for my oldest, I do want to make sure that we're going through a curriculum book of some kind to make sure that we're hitting different things. I really also like her approach so far, just in the first couple lessons that we've done. I like how Charlotte Mason approached grammar quite simply, in a really like, in a way where the kids can make sense of the concepts. She wasn't a big fan of pushing a whole bunch of grammar on kids who are like, why does this even matter? This doesn't relate to what I know. Whereas age-appropriate grammar is, and things that they can actually see, and things that can really sink in real life. And at what ages? Like my 6-year-old isn't gonna care what's a verb and what's a noun. It won't really sink in the same way it will with my 9-year-old, you know? So anyway, each to his own. I grew up on a Becca grammar, which is like, I remember we had a teacher come to my house one time when I was in about grade 7, and she looked at my grammar that I was doing that particular day anyways, and she was like, we don't teach this in high school. This is university, you know? Like, so I know a Becca grammar is way beyond what most people do in school, and I loved it. I loved having a strong grammar upbringing. I love to write, and so that really, I think, helped me. So I'm all for if you want to go in more intense grammar too, but I'm surprising myself with just taking a more gentle approach. Choosing Fix-It at the beginning of this school year was kind of the start of that, and now just switching here again to Charlotte Mason's. I'm mostly just fangirling. I'm like, I want to use Charlotte Mason's curriculum. We're doing Charlotte Mason for 12 weeks. So let's try her actual grammar curriculums that she did. So anyway, that was a long story. Okay, so that's our 10 a.m. things, and we're doing that from Monday till Thursday, Friday off. And then we have a huge outdoor block from 10:30 until 12 p.m. all of those days. Thursdays specifically, I have marked, it is our outdoor block, but I also have it marked on Thursdays as our big clean day because I have people over for Bible study on Fridays. So Thursdays is our day to like clean our house because it doesn't look presentable every day of the week. So anyways, and then, okay, so 12:30 is on Mondays. That's still part of our outdoor block time where we might be outside just fooling around. We might be doing nature stuff. We might be nature journaling. We might do chores during that time or whatever. But on Mondays, 12:30 is still part of that block. But on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, I'm going to be putting in Plutarch. Just been reading like Charlotte Mason's thoughts on Plutarch, and I've been watching some videos and listening to some podcasts and stuff like that. So I really want to add Plutarch in. I'm going to talk about that at the end a little bit of some of my thoughts and how we're going to approach that. And then on Fridays, of course, that's done. The only thing on Fridays left is piano practice. I want them to practice piano at some time on Friday. Otherwise, there's no more school on Friday. So let's just start talking about Monday to Thursday. So at 1 p.m. is when my husband comes home for his lunch break. So that's our lunch block. And then at 1:30, we're going to combine that. I think my old schedule just had artist study combined with our lunch hour, which was cool, but we were going through so many art pieces every single day. And I was like, this is really neat, but I also kind of want a chance to put this art up on my shelf and have it sit there for like the week so we can appreciate it for the week. We had one picture that was beautiful that I loved, and I was like, I don't want to put it away yet. And then I also thought this would be a great time to not just do artist study, but let's do composer study. So now at 1:30, I have composer study, which is going to be researching and looking up the composer, finding out more biography information, as well as listening. Lunch hour is just a great time to listen to music, especially classical music or whatever. And it doesn't even have to be classical composer study. I'm going to start with that, but I even thought there might be some modern composers that we want to listen to as well for composer study. So I'm excited to experiment a little bit with that. So Monday, composer study from 1:30 to 2. Tuesday, artist study. Thursday, art and music appreciation. So probably still listening to that composer because I want enough exposure to the music, like as Charlotte Mason says, until the child can like recognize who the composer is just by hearing it. Wednesday and Thursday, art and music appreciation. So we're learning about a composer, we're learning about an artist, and then we're gonna be doing art and music appreciation on the next 2 days, on Wednesdays and Thursdays. So composers and artists, again, that'll be like biographical information. And then the other 2 days we'll be appreciating different works so that we're exposed to a lot of the paintings that they painted or the music that they created and composed. And that would be the piano time on Fridays. And then at 2 p.m., what did I have before? Oh yeah, so it was really similar before, but now at 2 p.m. Mondays, I have draw and paint at 2 o'clock, piano at 2:30. On Tuesdays, we're doing piano at 2 o'clock and nature appreciation at 2:30. Nature appreciation, I was thinking more like either going out nature journaling or doing some intentional hiking, or we would take out like John Merlau's nature book and actually learn some skills for nature journaling. Some kind of nature appreciation there. Might be watching a YouTube video in the winter here of some creature that we're curious about. On Wednesdays, 2 o'clock creative time, which I just want, like my kids need time to like, they just are really creative. They either have stuff they want to doodle and draw or work on or build or whatever. So I want to make sure that that is on there. So I'm prompting them to go do it if they're not doing it in their free time, which they probably are going to do it in their free time too anyways. 2:30 piano on Wednesdays. And then on Thursdays, I didn't have piano there. I just took it out and I put nature appreciation in again on Thursdays. Thursday again is like our big clean day. So I was trying to, eliminate a little bit, and we don't have to practice piano every single day. I'm good if they just do it 4 times a week. And then big outdoor block from 3 o'clock until 5:30 is another big outdoor block. It might be outside. It might be reading outside. It might be just playing. It might be chore time, nature journaling, recitation. There's all kinds of things that we could be doing that. But I call it an outdoor block to remind myself, be outdoors as much as possible. So that's why I call it an outdoor block. 5:30 is still a clean sweep, and 6 p.m. is still supper. So that is how we've tweaked our schedule and changed that. Now on to Plutarch. So here's some thoughts, and I'm not an expert on it yet. We've barely scratched the surface of starting. So I won't have a very good opinion until later, but here's what I've sort of gathered from various sources, and here's the impression that I have listening to different people. A lot of people are very opinionated about Plutarch, and Charlotte Mason for that matter, but I'm just gonna put my 2 cents in because I have thoughts. So from what I have read, one of the older and more popular versions of Plutarch, like because it was translated into English, it wasn't written in English, was by a man named Norse. And a lot of people avoid his, even though it's very popular, the people that avoid his translation perhaps it's maybe unfiltered. There are curriculums and Plutarch things that you can get that kind of are just careful about how it's written for children. I kind of explained that before. We don't always use kids' resources. I just filter as we go. But Norse has maybe older English. It's more Shakespearean English. And I have heard there are a few other ones that are maybe more understandable as far as English translations go. There are more English translations that people say are a good start to like understand things and more comprehensible maybe for younger kids. But the overall consensus that I'm getting is if you get to know Plutarch, and once you get to know his work, Norse becomes a favorite. So a lot of people who have maybe started off with a different translation, as they kind of keep reading his things or rereading his things, Norse becomes a favorite. So my impression is if you start with Norse, the language may be overwhelming, that you may miss out on some of the meaning. But if you can redo it with Norse, then maybe there will be an extra language appreciation. So here's my plan. I can get the Norse version for free actually with my Audible subscription. There's another one there too anyways. So I'm gonna be flexible. I would like to try Norse, but I'm pretty sure that we're gonna try a different translation first. But what we're going to do is there's a YouTube channel. I think it's called Roman Road Media. I'm just gonna double check that. And I wanna make sure that I introduce my kids to Plutarch first. So we watched a video this last week that was actually like super helpful, that kind of introduced you to Plutarch. Who is he? Why are his writings famous? Why are they important? What are they all about? And if you don't know anything about Plutarch, he talks about like historical figures, but he's looking at them as character studies. He's comparing 2 people at a time, and it's all about learning about character, and there's moral and ethics things brought in. So his stuff has been used kind of as histories, but his writings point was more to point out character than record history. So anyway, let me look up that YouTube channel because I went and I found it and I thought this was really good. It gave my kids a foundation of like who this Plutarch guy is, and also kind of evaluated and talked about the first Plutarch's Lives volume. And so we watched that first before we read volume 1. Or we're going to start reading it. So I think that's how I'm going to start. I want my kids to kind of get an overview already of what's coming so that the language isn't as daunting. If they already know sort of the characters that they're going to hear, they've heard the names before because we watched a video on it, then once they're listening to the book, and I'm going to do audiobook for this one, then it will be familiar, and maybe if the language is a little bit old or hard to kind of a little bit murky to work through, it'll be easier to understand. So anyway, that is my intention at the moment. So yeah, okay, Roman Roads Media. That is the channel that I found. And there's a guy there that just a really good job of just overviewing who Plutarch is in the first Plutarch Lives. So if that was clear as mud, I'm going to be introducing Plutarch, trying to find an overview video of each volume before we read it so that my kids have a foundation for when we read it. And I will let you know if we try Norse first or if we try a different translation, or yeah, how that goes. I'll let you guys know. I have to update you. This is just my planning for this next week. Plutarch's on the schedule now. So Anyway, that is our update for Charlotte Mason Living week 2. Some of the things that I have really been challenging myself is to remember narration, taking that time for that when I'm reading, paragraphs, being like, what did I, like, tell it back to me in your own words, and trying not to correct my kids in their narration. Just the habit, I feel like the habit of copywork has been fairly easy. And remembering just good recitation, really encouraging the kids to, like, when they're reading or speaking about something, just to have a good, well presented way of speaking and reading. So anyways, the narration I have to remember. That is one thing that I'm like, oh, we didn't narrate about that. We need to narrate that. So as far as habits go, that one we need to work on. But anyway, there's your update. I will keep you guys posted some more. See you later.